I've noticed that some women criticize older men for dating younger women, but these same women may have rejected guys their own age when they were younger. Is this a double standard? Or am I missing something? In my own experience, as I've gotten older, I've seen a shift in how women in their early 20s interact with me. They seem more interested now than when I was their age, while the women I used to pursue now seem to resent that I'm not chasing them anymore. Has anyone else experienced or noticed something similar? Story 1. Some women criticize men for various things. Some men criticize women for various things. Don't hurt yourself thinking about it. Story 2. I noticed that it's mostly an online phenomenon. Probably has to do with online profiles, such as online dating, displaying age information. When people meet organically in real life and like each other, they generally have no idea how old the other person is, and it gets brought up relatively late during conversations, usually well after you have established that you find the other person pleasing, interesting, intelligent, or attractive. It seems very American, or perhaps related to the English-speaking world, to fixate on age differences, either by glorifying them as taboo and exciting or by demonizing them as predatory. The usual gender role double standards apply. Women are considered pure and innocent by default but with almost no agency, while men are considered impure and guilty by default but with full agency. Story 3. On average, women find dating easier than men at younger ages, while men have an easier time dating in their 30s and 40s. Generally speaking, men emphasize physical appearance, and women are often considered most attractive at a younger age. Women value a man's ability to provide, which most men cannot do well in their early 20s. The average attractive 20-year-old woman has a good chance of being with a single 40-year-old man, whereas the average 20-year-old man has no chance with a 40-year-old woman. Story 4. Dating dynamics where the man is older often label him as a creep and her as lacking social skills to decide for herself. In contrast, if the roles are reversed, it is seen as her rediscovering herself, and calling that scenario equally creepy is labeled as misogyny. This issue is even more problematic with teachers abusing their students, who are minors and unable to give consent. If a male teacher commits the crime, he faces severe legal consequences. However, when a female teacher is involved, media coverage is often less, sentences are lighter, and in the worst cases, if the victim becomes pregnant, the boys have been held responsible for child support in the United States once they reach adulthood. Story 5. From experience, this comes mostly from older women who realize that men their age are more interested in younger women and thus can't find a partner. That's why they try to shame the consensual relationship between two people. As long as both are of age and agree to it, what should be wrong about it? Story 6. But these same women may have rejected guys their own age when they were younger. Did you personally encounter this? Or are you just making assumptions? Because, in my experience, women who date much older guys and women who criticize men for dating much younger tend to be two separate groups. Story 7. Some women just don't understand men and try to pathologize our behaviors. Others are deluded and stuck in their own echo chambers. I was on a forum the other day, and they were shaming men for preferring women to be clean-shaven. I provided the male perspective, and they started saying we live in a patriarchy where only the male perspective matters, so I shouldn't say anything. I gave examples of how parts of Western society are actually focused on women. For instance, women under the age of 30 out-earn men, women dominate education, and intellectuals influence society. Women are also the biggest consumers, so media and advertisements target them. Anyway, my comment got silenced and heavily downvoted. You're completely right. Women today are struggling to find partners they feel they're not settling for due to their selective nature. If a woman is under 30 and wants a provider, she has only a small number of options around her age, so she's likely going to have to date a bit older. Story 8. I date women older than me, sometimes up to 60, but I also have relationships with younger women, even as young as 24. They're not escorts or sugar babies. They're normal women with a preference for mature men. What I notice on forums is that women often complain about how it's creepy and predatory for someone my age to be involved with younger women. In fact, I'm not pursuing anyone. We match on apps, and they want to meet. There's a lot of pseudoscience claiming they can't make responsible decisions because their brains aren't fully developed. Yet, When a middle-aged woman talks about being with younger men, the responses are always supportive, like, "You go, girl," and "good for you." Personally, I don't care about age differences. I'm a sexual person. If a woman is attractive, I'm interested. As long as she's legal and interested in me, I'm open to it. I don't interact with women under 23, not due to lack of attraction, but because it feels inappropriate. However, dating someone in their mid-20s doesn't seem strange to me. A woman in her mid-20s is perfectly capable of deciding what she wants in a partner. Story 9. Leonardo DiCaprio gets criticized for the same thing Jennifer Lopez, Cher, Madonna, Britney Spears, and Taylor Swift have been doing, dating much younger individuals. Story 10. Of course, there is a 40-year-old man having a relationship with a 20-year-old woman. Creep, pedophile. A 40-year-old woman having a relationship with a 20-year-old man. Cougar, empowered. Story 11. I'm in my mid-30s and still waiting for the magical shift in early 20s women's attitudes toward me that I was promised. They would start to be interested in me once I got my own place, a steady job, a good income, enough savings, and more maturity. Still waiting. Story 12. But when they were younger, they didn't know better. They now have the wisdom of age and experience to say, "Yeah, that was wrong." Story 13. I like the way you framed this. You didn't want me back then, so don't say anything about what I do now. That is unique and brilliant. My wife is 18 years younger than me, and we'll celebrate our 9th anniversary together next week. We're as crazy in love as we ever were. The best decision I ever made was to wait. Like you said, these middle-aged women who give us ugly looks or try to criticize online didn't want me when we were all the same age. Cry me a river now. My wife is super hot. Story 14. It's more about the hypocrisy of women with a touch of a double standard. Most women are attracted to older men when they are younger. Their view changes when they are no longer the young, attractive one, and the man they desire wants someone 10 years younger. They'll say a woman has the right to date whoever she wants. But if that same man wants to date the younger woman, he's criticized. Story 15. Do not think too much about it. I was dating someone my mom's age in my 20s, and the same people who were cheering my ex along for being with me called me everything you can imagine for dating a 19-year-old in my 30s. Story 16. It is entirely acceptable if an older woman dates a younger man. However, if an older man wants a younger girlfriend, he might be criticized by older women who feel envious of the girl and older men who also wish they could date someone younger. Story 17. There's definitely a double standard, but it cuts both ways. Women may view men as predatory for pursuing a much younger woman, while men might congratulate each other for being with a younger partner. Conversely, when a woman is with a younger man, people often encourage her, yet may label her as gold-digging if she's with a much older man. Regardless, when there's a significant age difference, people tend to assume each person is involved for transactional reasons. That said, I think most people don't care. Generally, a 4 to 5 year age gap between partners, regardless of gender, is considered normal and doesn't attract much attention. For instance, my girlfriend is 3 years older, and people don't think much of it. Story 18. I used to be a man who only dated older women. I felt uncomfortable about being with a younger woman for obvious reasons. After being in a long-term relationship with an older woman who had no consideration for me, what I wanted, how I felt, and where I was going, I started getting attention from a younger woman about 10 years my junior at work. She is a stunning woman who displays much more maturity and interest than any woman my own age ever has. On top of that, she is one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen. My opinions about age gaps have changed a lot. I have a more real, wholesome, and better relationship with this younger woman than I ever had with anyone my own age or older. Story 19. I think we all had foolish criteria when we were younger. Deal breakers at 23 are no big deal in your 40s. I believe both men and women have let good partners get away in our younger days over things that, in hindsight, seemed kind of dumb. Oh well. Story 20. I wouldn't say double standard, but definitely an expectation. I'm a man in my late 20s, and I haven't, and probably never will, date anyone more than 3 to 4 years older or younger than me, and I think that goes for a lot of guys. Meanwhile, I don't think I've met any woman who hasn't at least dated a guy 6 or more years older than her for a bit. Story 21. 40-year-old woman dating a 26-year-old male. You go, girl. 40-year-old male dating a 26-year-old woman. Time to get the pitchforks. Story 22. I'd rather you do not judge the real world by the words, actions, and reactions of Reddit users. What may be the ultimate truth here won't be the same in the normal real world. In real life, no one really cares if a woman is older or if a man is older, as long as the two are in a healthy relationship. Granted, there are limits because a 20-year-old dating a 60-year-old is indeed unusual. Plus, there is always the consideration that women have a rather limited window of opportunity to bear healthy children age-wise, but otherwise no one cares much. Story 23. It's the creep cougar paradox. A 37-year-old woman with a 25-year-old man? None of my business. You go, girl. A 37-year-old man with a 25-year-old woman? Creep. Loser. Predator. Do not debate this with women. Do not waste 1 second of your time. The good people from all genders are forcing out the abusers. This is not the battle of the sexes. It's the great escape. Story 24. Absolutely, women have no idea how society works. Why would a rich, powerful older man not want a young, attractive woman? It also makes perfect sense why a young, attractive woman wouldn't want a young, unsuccessful man. Story 25. The age gap double standard is a wild one. In the same couple, the man can be called creepy for dating a younger woman, while the woman is praised for being with an older man. Then, in a different couple, the woman might be praised as a hot cougar for being with a younger man, while the man is ridiculed as seeking a mother figure for dating the same woman. There are only 4 people in this scenario, and yet only the man is seen as the bad guy, regardless of the arrangement. Story 26. Often, women are more attracted to status and wealth, while men tend to be more attracted to health and beauty. The former is more likely to occur at older ages for everyone. The latter almost exclusively exists in younger women and those who take good care of their health. Story 27. Women often have issues with any standard that disqualifies them or limits their options. They may have height preferences but criticize men for having weight preferences, despite weight being something they can control, unlike height. They may also have a problem with older men preferring younger women because they recognize that they, too, will age. It bothers them that if they're single long enough, they will have to compete with younger, more attractive women, so they might shame you for it. You made a valid point when you said that the women you used to pursue resent that you and other men are now looking elsewhere. Often, when they shame you, they are attempting to manipulate you, so it's best to ignore them. Story 28. I believe women love adult men who have their lives together, have a strong sense of self, and a clear vision, and won't tolerate nonsense. Younger women, who are done with their party years, probably want to settle down with the best partner they can find, someone who knows where he's going, and she feels assured knowing everything is under control. Some women may not have realized early enough the need to find happiness or develop the skills required for a relationship, and they are interested in the same men. However, their competition seems strong. Yes, younger women have some level of immaturity, but not as much as some 35 to 45-year-old women. Shaming men might just be venting or a strategy, hoping the dynamics will shift in their favor, when those dynamics have been in their favor for a long time. It seems acceptable for women to date men in their early 20s, but there is criticism when men do the same. Personally, we can't view it in a black and white manner. My girlfriend treats me well, is generally happy, and is in her late 30s. She possesses relationship skills that are invaluable. Story 29. These are the things you shouldn't waste brain cells on. Date who you want to date and who wants to date you. Ignore everything else. Sleep with anyone you want who wants to sleep with you, provided they are adults and it won't negatively impact your work or harm someone else, such as cheating on a partner. Story 30. One good thing about getting older is not caring what random people think about you. The positive feelings I would have dating a younger woman far outweigh the negative opinions of random people in public. Story 31. It is just jealousy from women everyone passes on and men who cannot get those 20-year-olds. P.S. Remember to invest in cat food and box wine companies. Story 32. A lot of women don't like men their age or younger. They correlate older with being more financially established. Women mainly just want security, also known as money. Story 33. It is mostly older women who criticize men for dating younger women because they are competing for the same men in the dating market. A 40-year-old woman may have less chance compared to a 25-year-old woman. Story 34. Yes, it's complicated. A 20-year-old dating a 1-year-old is not okay. A 40-year-old dating a 21-year-old is okay? Is an older man dating an older woman okay? Story 35. I don't worry about external validation. If I'm fine with it, then I don't really care about anyone else. I tend to date women up to my own age but rarely older. Story 36. Absolutely. Celebrity culture highlights this all the time. We see endless jokes about Leonardo DiCaprio, but it's rare to see someone mention Madonna or Sam Taylor Johnson. Story 37. Yes, there often is a double standard in how age gaps are viewed in dating, particularly based on gender. Relationships where the man is significantly older than the woman tend to be more socially accepted, especially when older men are seen as more established or mature. However, when the age gap is reversed, where the woman is older, society may be more judgmental, sometimes labeling the relationship with stereotypes. Additionally, age gap relationships with older men are sometimes viewed as acceptable or even desirable, while older women with younger partners may face more scrutiny or be seen as unconventional. These double standards are influenced by cultural norms and stereotypes about gender roles, maturity, and expectations regarding relationships. However, views on age gap relationships are evolving, with increasing acceptance of all types of partnerships as long as they are based on mutual respect and understanding. Story 38. It's a strange situation where people criticize men by denying the agency of women. There are many women who want to date older men, sometimes much older. Yet, this is never addressed, even though these women are adults and have typically been adults for years. It's always the men who are expected to know better. It reminds me of a female friend who would get very angry when people accused her older partner of grooming her. She wanted to be with him and had pursued him, despite his initial reluctance. Story 39. What? So, because women in their 20s rejected you when you were in your 20s, now that you're older, you're still going to date women in their 20s? There are differences in maturity and life experience. I'm in my late 30s, and I would not be able to look at somebody in their early 30s romantically. Being attracted to someone in their 20s would be insane to me. I want someone who understands the same references as I do, and if he doesn't, it's because they're references to something in Mexican entertainment that he might not be familiar with. Otherwise, no. Story 40. It's very common, and this dynamic goes both ways. Some men criticize women for dating bad boys because they are envious of the bad boys getting the attention. The same underlying motivations and reasoning are at play. Story 41. Of course, if a 30-year-old dates an 18-year-old, oh Lord, he must be a pedophile, yet the other way around, it's hagmaxing. Story 42. It all comes directly from jealousy. Anytime emotions are involved to that extreme, it is deep-seated jealousy. Story 43. Some people care, some don't. I got criticized by my friend once for having my minimum age on dating apps set as low as 21 when I am 26, despite the fact that I know she had been with guys older than me at 21. Story 44. Online spaces tend to amplify this kind of discourse, and a lot of people engage with it for various reasons. Realistically, the biggest problem I've seen with age gap dating is that someone often can't keep up with the friend group because her older boyfriend struggles with late nights. They seem more interested now than when I was their age, while the women I used to pursue now seem to resent that I'm not chasing them anymore. Has anyone else experienced or noticed something similar? Yes. I've never received as much attention, aggressive flirting, and direct propositions as when I turned 30. It felt like a switch was flipped, changing perceptions from like a brother or cute enough, I guess, to attractive, almost overnight. I did not experience any resentment from older women for being with younger people, but my romantic interests have always been my own age. Story 45. I've noticed that some women criticize older men for dating younger women, but these same women may have rejected men their own age when they were younger. That's not a double standard. Not even a potential one, either. Story 46. So, I noticed the shift as soon as I moved on my own and had my life relatively together. But age and financial status have brought a new level of attention that I did not expect, regardless of how much it is highlighted in discussions of hypergamy. I personally believe you should stay in your lane regarding age range, financial wisdom, work-life balance, volume of responsibilities, physical upkeep, and mental health. Most relationships would work out if people were honest with themselves and stopped trying to feed off someone who has something they are missing. It's parasitic behavior and ruins the romantic outlook for the other when things don't work out. Story 47. As men get older, they are seen as more experienced, more mature, and possibly more serious than a younger man, whom younger women find to be primarily interested in one thing only. As those women get older, they are often perceived by older men as too serious or too eager by men their own age. Story 48. To address your question, not all women hold this double standard, but a significant percentage do. A man dating a younger woman is viewed by many as being only after sex or even as a predator, while a woman dating a younger man rarely has that connotation. I don't know why. As an older man, I don't really want someone in a completely different stage of life. I'm not going to have children at this point, but I am amazed at how old many women my age act. I want to live before I die, and the prospect of being with a woman who doesn't want to go out or do anything does not sound appealing. I am willing to date a younger woman just because I still want to have fun in life. Story 49. Because women are trained to look for love in partners who can take care of them, there are many women in their 20s who refuse to be with a man unless he can visibly buy them things and take them places. This means most men in their 20s are instantly ruled out. Story 50. Most people don't care if it's an older woman and a younger man. These women are adults, make their own decisions, and are responsible for them. Everybody knows why an older man might be interested in a younger woman. Women in their early 20s aren't too naive to understand. They act as if these older men are casting magic spells on them, but they choose to be with these guys for various reasons. As adults, they can choose to do it and take accountability for their choices. I know I'd be laughed out of the room if I claimed an older woman took advantage of me in my 20s because I'm a grown man. I wouldn't personally date a woman more than 5 years younger at 31 unless we happen to click very well, which is unlikely. If it works for you, go ahead, consenting adults and all that. Story 51. I've seen a shift in how women in their early 20s interact with me. The women I used to pursue now seem to resent that I'm not chasing them anymore. You've grown up. That is emotional maturity. They haven't, as they still seek validation by being chosen over others. Congratulations. That's a good thing. You're better off ignoring them and looking for other emotionally mature partners. It means you stop looking in places where the hunt is going on and start doing things because you want to. Look for other people who are also engaged in activities because they want to, and through your shared interests, you'll develop a genuine bond of friendship and mutual respect. Story 52. I'm a woman, and part of answering this question is understanding why a 40-year-old woman might view this differently than a 20-year-old. Men who have experienced predatory relationships with older partners would understand this complexity as well. It's more nuanced than saying, she wouldn't date me when she was 20, but now she's upset that I'm 40 and dating 20-year-olds. This assumes that everyone remains unchanged from 20 to 40 and that our life experiences don't shape our worldview. Consider the Campfire Rule by Dan Savage. Many men claim older women have baggage. Where do you think that baggage comes from? Dating someone in their teens or early 20s might seem fun, but for the young person, it can be life-altering as they are discovering who they are. When you're young, you often trust that real adults must know more and are right. You probably had similar feelings at that age, which is why you remember who rejected you back then. That rejection likely impacted your younger self significantly. Almost every woman I know has a story about older men who exploited their youth and inexperience. When we grow older and see young women dating older men, we feel a need to protect them from the same trauma we experienced. Some men label older women as bitter or jealous, but it is typically a protective, maternal instinct rather than a competitive one. Dating someone younger isn't inherently wrong. Just be mindful of the imbalances and don't disrupt a young person's life for an ego boost. Story 53. Is there a reason to listen to people's criticisms? Now they seem to resent that I'm not chasing them anymore. Or is it resentments? Story 54. It's a double standard when it comes to men dating younger women because older women want to shame men who date younger women. Just ignore the bitter broads. Story 55. Interesting question. I recently read this. Maybe it will help. In your 20s, you look how God made you. But in your 40s, you look on the outside like you are on the inside. Thinking back to women I was attracted to when I was younger, before I met my wife, I dodged a bunch of misery if that saying is true. Story 56. When men get older, they become more attractive because they are more relaxed and mature, with richer and more reliable lives. Story 57. Oh yes. Older man dating a younger woman. He's manipulating her and wanted someone easy to manipulate. He's a predator. Older woman dating a younger man. Oh, she's just having fun. Good for you, Sally. Enjoy it while you can. It's hard to argue because when you ask younger people if they regret it when they're older, it seems the women did and the men didn't. So, I'm not sure if it's right. I do know I wouldn't consider dating anyone more than a few years younger than me. I dated at 34, so my pool included everything from 24 to 41, and it was a mistake every time I dated below 30. Every single time. Story 58. In my own experience as I've gotten older, I've seen a shift in how women in their early 20s interact with me. They seem more interested now than when I was their age, while the women I used to pursue now seem to resent that I'm not chasing them anymore. I'm about to turn 35. When a good friend of mine, who is engaged and pregnant at 37, asked me how my dating life was going compared to my 20s, she suddenly realized that I was, at this age, in my prime. I've never had women in their 20s waiting for me at parties like they do now, actively wanting to engage with me and actually buying me drinks. And trust me, I'm in worse shape and a lot balder. About the rest, women usually prefer older men. But when they start getting into their 30s, some seem surprised when men younger than 40 aren't actively pursuing them anymore. Story 59. There's a lot of prejudice against even healthy age gap relationships. They deny adult women their agency, call them gold diggers, assume older men are being predatory without knowledge, and generally criticize people who don't deserve it. When a woman is older, it's even more complicated, though older women are less likely to be called predatory. Anyway, it's people projecting their own egos and judging things they don't understand. These individuals should mind their own business. Story 60. There's always a strange cycle. I haven't really experienced it myself fully. However, I'm very observant. Some women prefer older men. Also, for women judging men for dating younger people, it could be due to a range of feelings. Some feel they should date within their age range and are disgusted by the idea of an age gap. Yes, some women do criticize the age gap, knowing they have experienced it themselves or are currently doing the same thing. Women also date younger men and are not viewed the same as when it's the other way around. People are always going to say something about it. So, yes, there is a double standard in how age gaps are viewed. Story 61. Most women in my life would be unbothered by my preference for dating younger individuals. I liked an 18-year-old when I was 26, and even my friend, a feminist, didn't care. It's largely bitter older single women. Story 62. According to Reddit, at least, an older man with a younger but adult woman is considered grooming and should go straight to jail. An older woman with a younger man is seen as taking him to Pound Town. Story 63. There is a huge outrage for men who date younger women, but I don't see the same outrage when younger women date older men for being more mature or financially stable. Some people see men dating younger women as sexualizing them, while women dating older men for stability or security is considered wise. I'm confused. Story 64. Maybe I'm just bitter, but when I see a young woman with an older man, it makes me think, what was wrong with all the guys her age? I remember having a severe crush on a girl at university, but it turns out she was dating a guy over a decade older. What did he have that I didn't? Story 65. It depends on the age gap, in my opinion, but both are adults, so my opinion doesn't matter. If you're dating someone 30 years younger, you have barely anything in common, just going by age. I know what most young women are after, so I'm not bothered, but it irritates some people. In general, yes, it's a double standard. For your own sake, avoid relationships with those having father figure issues. I am 57. My partner is 49. Story 66. And then there are the people, both men and women, who seem to know how to make others think they are attentive and interested, ending up on top of the moon, yet eventually crashing hard. But that's a whole other story. My father was a victim of that pretty young thing syndrome. Story 67. All this generation of women do is make excuses. They're not serious people anymore. Nothing is ever their fault. They choose to be gold diggers and only want to date rich older men. Well, it's obviously the fault of the older men for allowing it. Story 68. Older woman and younger man. Acceptable. Praise for the older woman. Older man and younger woman. Unacceptable. The man is a pervert and is exploiting the younger woman, who is being deceived and manipulated. Story 69. When an older woman pursues younger men, she's empowered and living her best life. When an older man pursues a younger woman, he's seen as a creep, manipulative, grooming, or insecure. Story 70. Of all things that never happened, this never happened the most. Stop with revenge fantasy bait posts. Little girls are being married off to disgusting old men worldwide, and no one bats an eye. Groomers at every high school and college. Men who refuse to date women over 30 because they think they hit the wall. But go on with your double standard and all these young women who are suddenly so into you. Story 71. Totally. It's always the older men and younger women combination, never the reverse. It involves characterizing adult women as immature and naive. This rarely happens with men. The moment a man turns 18, society treats them as fully competent adults who have to own their decisions, even if it harms them. A woman in her 20s can sign a contract, join the army, get married, but the moment she chooses to date an older man, she is transformed into a helpless child. It robs adult women of their agency and adulthood in a way that wouldn't happen to a man. It is rooted in traditional sexism that treats women as incapable, eternally dependent pseudo-children. As to why this happens, women, as a group, tend to denigrate anything that competes with their control over sexual norms. Men using sex toys? Bad. Pornography? Bad. Sex workers? Bad. Masturbation? Bad. Younger women? Bad. Story 72. As a man who is 30 and has only ever dated older women, I now find myself dating a 19-year-old and have to strongly agree that there is a double standard. When I was a freshman in high school dating a college girl, she didn't get called a creep, even though I was a minor and half a decade younger than her. That being said, I understand how it can be viewed as grooming or predatory to date someone much younger. Consider the fact that I was very happy being single, but we have great chemistry and similar enough views and goals. She's quite mature for her age and made the first move. I decided to try something new, so she was the first woman I ever asked out. I love this girl, and we've been going strong for a while now, and her family supports it. I've tried to do everything in my power to do right by her. By her family's own admission, she's better, and I know I am because of our relationship. We do face criticism sometimes, and I've been called many nasty names by people who disapprove. But I plan on this being my longest and final relationship, and so does she. All my relationships have lasted years. The way I see it, she's a legal consenting adult, and so am I. She has a lot to gain from dating someone who is not thinking impulsively and is also serious and experienced in many aspects of adult life and the real world. In 10 years, nobody's going to care about the age gap. But it did take some getting used to for us and overcoming some initial apprehension from each other, her family, and friends. We both had a rough go at life and dating in the past with toxic people, so we understand each other in many ways and know how to treat each other. We never fight, never argue, always respect each other, and discuss any issue that arises. Story 73. This is not about all or even most women before I go into this. However, there are a few women who just don't want to see men happy, no matter what. These women might reject men, and then, when those men find someone else, they get upset about it. Again, this isn't most women. Story 74. Yeah, I'm 39 and women in their mid-20s are interested in me. Women my age are too, but I do get more attention from the younger women. Story 75. The double standard exists because people are different, and the majority creates the mob mentality that tends to be dominant. The mob mentality was created because both men and women experienced it. Men experienced women their own age rejecting them because they were dating or interested in an older guy. Women experienced men rejecting them in favor of younger women, or they entered the picture after the relationship was already ongoing and thought, that could have been me if they weren't dating someone older or younger. The reality is that many younger women are attracted to men older than them. It's tied to basic biology and physical and emotional needs. If you're a woman and you have the choice between a college guy your age who is still figuring it all out, or an older guy who has a career, a stable life, and is looking for someone to share it with, the more stable option is often more attractive. It's also worth noting that the guys who are more stable likely experience similar issues when they were younger. They're at that point where they're more interested in marriage and children because they already have friends who are married with kids, and they feel a little behind. That aligns perfectly with younger women who want a relationship that could lead to marriage and children, rather than spending time with someone who isn't sure what they want out of life yet. As women discover older men are more stable and want the same things they do, they're naturally attracted to it. Obviously, everyone is different. There are plenty of women who are still figuring it out and plenty of younger men who already have it figured out. Plenty of people of all ages are just looking for casual flings. That's just the norm. Most people don't point out problems with the norm. It's the things that seem unusual that get the attention. Story 76. When women criticize nearly anything, you have to understand that it is a social game. They are trying to shame the group they are criticizing into changing or trying to shame others into interacting differently with them. It is an attempt to control behavior, that is all. As they get older, they try to limit the men that younger women have access to. Story 77. Women in their 20s see you as less of a threat now. That's why they are more talkative and open with you, almost like a father figure. When you were in your 20s trying to talk to women in their 20s, they probably thought you had ulterior motives. Story 78. It's because women expected the guys they rejected to patiently wait until they were done dating men way above their attraction line and should accept the women with open arms at age 35. However, men in their 30s have more flexibility with income, and if they stayed fit and are not creepy, they can have possibly better options to choose from. The idea of a not fully developed brain just exists to push men to date the women that rejected them after their fun years. Younger women are not naive and know that a guy in his 30s is more mature intellectually and has the means to date. Will they use them for their money? Possibly. Are both getting the experience of both? Yes. Just be wise about who you date. Story 79. Not a man, but genuinely curious to hear how you would react if your daughter started dating someone significantly older than her. From my own experience, when I was 15 to 20, I thought my friends who were dating older guys were so cool and mature because an older guy was interested. I'm 26 now and realize how creepy and predatory they were. A general rule is if a significantly older guy is interested in you, it's best to stay away. And before you mention double standards, I feel the same way about women who pursue boys who could be their sons. Story 80. The idea that there is a double standard is probable. I believe that age gaps in early adulthood are a significant concern. As both people get older, it becomes less of an issue, but I dislike the argument that as long as it's legal, it's okay. Slavery was legal for a long time, yet it didn't make it okay. Legality being the threshold either means that they could go lower if given the chance, or that they care more about whether they can rather than whether they should. Story 81. In my experience, as I've gotten older, I've noticed a shift in how women in their early 20s interact with me. They seem more interested now than when I was their age, while the women I used to pursue now seem to resent that I'm not chasing them anymore. This is very common and happened to me in my 30s. Women appreciate maturity and security. Many women who criticize men with younger women may be jealous, but some have a valid point when the age gap is beyond the usual half your age plus 7. I think anything beyond that is a bit uncomfortable. Story 82. In real life, almost never. Online is a different story. People see a 5-year age gap in their 20s as the equivalent of grooming high schoolers. The forum that shall not be named insists that guys who want to date older women are primarily looking for inappropriate fantasies and aren't mature enough to handle dating within their own age range. I've learned that dating advice online often contradicts what happens in real life. Story 83. Yes, absolutely there is. I was sexually assaulted by one of my aunt's drunk friends when I was 16, and when I told my friends about it looking for advice, they told me they thought I was lucky. Men who get with older women are seen as skilled or lucky by other men. Women who get with older men are seen as groomed or victims. I say by men because the majority of people I see not participating in that double standard are women, not men. Younger women to be sure, but women nonetheless. Story 84. This is likely true. Younger women tend to be attracted to the experience of an older man, but once they themselves are older and want to settle down, they are looking for someone more their own age. I completely ignore any of that. If two people are adults and understand the issues that may arise due to their difference in age, then it's nobody else's business. Story 85. Those who have a problem with age gaps are often just upset because they are being overlooked for someone younger and more attractive. It's easier for them to shame others for their choices and spread negativity than to accept responsibility for their own decisions and the reality of their situation. Story 86. Perspectives change as we age, as does our understanding, our desires, and what we are willing to tolerate. This applies to both sides. Story 87. Interesting perspective. Maybe you're just more sure of yourself these days and confident. It could be possible that the women you used to show interest in have aged and are now feeling less secure as their looks fade with age. Story 88. It's because they know they're losing their power over men. The same reason most women dislike sex workers is that sex is often viewed as the power women have to control men. They criticize sex workers and men's preference for younger, more beautiful women as a way to shame them into stopping it. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.